Okay, I have finished Spider Noir, the uh, the television series, and I'm going to tell you how I feel about this whole thing, and not what I think about it. See, now I'm also playing through at the same time. Uh, what's it? Mouse PI. So that's a recently released shooter video game, something you might find in the arcade, but it's all black and white, and it's based off cartoons from the Silver Age of cinema. And what I mean by Silver Age, I mean silver nitride, of course. For those of you who are not in the know or not initiated in the performing arts. Anyways, I think it was just long enough. 8 episodes was perfect. That's all it needed to be. That's all it needed to be. You know, sometimes you watch a television series and you can tell, you can feel the moment at which the writers stopped jerking off to the source material and moved on to something else. And that's a really tragic moment, you know. Like, you know, as much as you could hear the devil's laughter after copulation, you know, a single hand is sometimes all you really need. And even better if someone helps you out. You see, the thing that they didn't do with this whole black spider thing is they didn't crack many jokes. It was a very seriously intonated television series, and you know the talkies. You know, once they started putting the talkies in the movie theaters, you know that was really something to dance to. You know, like I'm no stranger to some flappers, you know, but even once in a while I'll go and take myself a spinster. You know, I'll even give her some old KY to get her going. You know, you got to flirt with older women. You know, especially as a detective. You know, you got to make them feel good. You know, like not like facetiously or like in an insulting way, but like just make them feel like a woman. I think that's an admirable thing to do. Anyways, I was watching this thing and it was all about cinematography, and this guy was going on about like the hazing and the hard lines, and I'm like, is this some sort of a drug um fueled initiation ritual? Like, do I have to pledge allegiance to a giant spider shaped um what's the word? You know, effigy. That's right. I think that's what it is. Effigy, right? That's all about the language, see? Now, when I'm talking about this, um, you know, good performances, who was technically adept. You know, I watched most of this in black and white, and I was watching this thing earlier. It was about some photographer, you know, like Ainsley or something like that, and he did black and white photography. The BBC did this whole special on him. Give me a second. Now, let me pull this up on the television screen here. All right. Ansel Adams was the guy's name. Yeah, yeah. He even made a career at taking pictures. You know, how about that? How about that? And the comment that I would have to say, and I said this in the previous video, was that you know, black and white can become a parody of itself, especially if the values are not established correctly. And Ansel Adams in this video, and it's from the channel The Photographic Eye, and the title is "What Ansel Adams Knew That Most Photographers Miss." And you know, most people, they pick up a camera, they can frame something, they can use the rule of thirds, you know. But when it gets to the more technical stuff as to like how long the exposure is supposed to be, how big the aperture is supposed to be, they just look at you like they're bamboozled, they're dumbfounded, you know, like. Like you just, I don't know, you proposed to their daughter and you didn't give them a dowry. I don't know, like some backwards concepts here. But then again, you might want to give him a dowry because like you're taking his field worker. It's just, that's why usually you give him a cow or something like that. And even in New York, you still had livestock, in downtown metropolises. Okay. That was a good bit. What'd you think of that? That's a pretty good, 20s or 30s gangster. I hope you really appreciate that. I can pull this stuff out of my ass all day, if I'm motivated enough to do so. Um, and okay, that statement could possibly mean someone out there is being threatened because you're watching a video by someone that's basically a quintuple threat, right? I can play an instrument, I can paint, I could sing, I could dance, okay. Um, I can act. I can certainly act, because acting is perfecting the art of the lie, right? The suspension of disbelief, and that is a central part of the foundation that builds a believable universe, right? Is the continuity, and then also, as I just mentioned, um, because the viewer wants something to us relate to. They want to hold on to something and have their own fun with it, and that this excuse me, in the ways that film used to be such an event, right? And we've been through this period of mourning, I would say, for the what's I'm going to call it the Silicon era of cinema, because I don't see movies or television. Even it's strange to call it television because it's not really television anymore, right? It's all streaming services and YouTube videos and dark web pornography websites. And it's like, okay, so again, we face our mortality through expressing ourselves in different ways through creating art. And if you're paying attention to the undertones and as to why something like Spider Noir is just it's a very well received, is because of its reality, in which it is black and white. It is easy to understand, and you can change. You can have a choice. You can go full color all the time if you really want to, but it's against, in my opinion, uh, the very constitution of the thing, right? If we're going to talk about the conceptualization, and what we're looking at here in this video, of course, is the image of Spider Noir from the comic books. Now, I had no idea that Spider Noir was a comic book, but I should have guessed. I should have guessed that it was material ripped from the magazines. And if there's another series I would love to see revived, it's Dick Tracy. And I know that the rights are held by one guy, and he's kind of cantankerous, and he doesn't really want to let go of it because he wants, that, like, that's his entire thing, right? That's his obsession, and that really fascinates me. Um, that someone would dedicate themselves to something like that, to a fictional universe, in such voracity and in such dedication to something, the and doing so with such integrity, right? You don't make friends in this world by being a yes man, right? By saying yes to everything, and even though Jim Carrey learned a life lesson in Yes Man, and he also got a gummer, so you know, win-win, I guess. Getting close with your neighbors and an older woman. Hey, you know what? Whatever. Got no problem with that. I'm not digging. I'm not scraping the bottom of the barrel here. I'm really not. I'm not trying to make myself into a man whore. I already was, quite frankly. And when I finish this, I don't want to go back and rewatch it. I don't want to ruin it. I cherish it. That would be the vocabulary to use. And I think that's a real compliment to the people involved. Is that someone would want to um, be protective of something like this, or like of Dick Tracy, because it means so much to them. And that kind of enthusiasm is rare, and it's fragile. It is so fragile. To people generally, if you enable them to express these. Oh, I just had a brain fart. It's just terrible. To express these motivations, right? And then they'll continue to do it for the reasons that they have close to their heart. You don't have to step in and try to be like a drill sergeant and coddle them or micromanage them. The best thing you can do for other people is to give them the tools required in order to have media literacy, or to have a critical thinking skills. And those are things that are not innate or natural to most people, because quite frankly, we're retarded, right? Humanity is retarded. It's fucking retarded. And Spider Noir, and if you present this to someone else, say somewhere in the armpit of a place that is hot and humid and rains all the time, it might not land. They'd just be like, "What is this?" It's like the Coke bottle from The Gods Must Be Crazy. And I was saying to my sister, sometimes you just get it right, and you capture that lightning in a bottle. And it's the hardest thing, right? Like, that comes down to the creative struggle, in that you have achieved this greatness, and then you have to come back down to earth again, and you have to come up with the next big thing, but you're scrambling because everyone wants the thing you just made. And what do you choose? Do you choose financial security, or do you go for financial security, or do you go for broke? And if you've been paying attention to this channel and the stuff that I talk about, then you know very well that me, myself, and I, as an artist, I went for broke, right? I went for absolute ruin. I did whatever was within my power and within the confines of the law that did not involve a criminal offense, to create something of an urban legend, right? When the artist becomes the piece of art, I think that's the penultimate achievement. When there's no longer this separation that is so often talked about by art school graduates, in which, the art and the artist are can you separate them, etc., or trust the process. Look at this mumbo jumbo gobbledygook. I learned it in film school. Yay. and the the style, the style is again, it's reflective of the here and now as much as it was cutting edge in its own time. Um, and I'm thinking of something of an intrusive thought that I'm not going to communicate because it feels really uncomfortable to do so. Um, anyways, really good, really good. I was not wanting or in need of Spider Noir, but we got what we deserved, and what we really deserve is excellence. Our culture has been through absolute hell. It's been assaulted from all sides and funded by people that you don't think would be behind it because they couldn't leave anything alone. They thought that by doing certain things they can make the world a better place. Um, but Ben Roberts, this character, he seems to understand. Again, by retreating from this superhero role and the reluctant hero motif, which is a classical thematic device. Um, that makes you want to root for the main character or the supporting characters. That the whole arc and maybe a tidy ending. And some people don't like that. They think it's really cliche or it's a trope. But this is fantasy, right? The very idea was that this was something expanded upon from a comic book, which that in itself is pulp, right? It doesn't have a specific meaning or reason for existence. It's just there for entertainment's sake. And if you try to extrapolate some deeper hidden um, conceptualization from it, then I think that really destroys your enjoyment of it. In which you're trying to find all of these little references, right? Like an autistic person on cocaine. I don't know if you've ever seen an autistic person on cocaine. You might not want to. I can't say that I have. I might want to see that. I think that would be entertaining for a few minutes and then tragic thereafter. Because, like, then you have a disabled person that's addicted to cocaine. Like, how does that happen? I mean, there's the initial part where you put the Colombian booger sugar up your nose, but then there's like the whole backstory of the autistic person and what they were doing, or the disabled person, and then they suddenly they're like, okay, now I'm gonna do cocaine because of whatever reason, you know, and then it's just like, oh god, now we're gonna go through this rock bottom sort of thing, and uh this is painful to watch, you know, um, that's just something that I had in my head. Don't ask me why. Just don't stick your nose into other people's mental space. If you think I'm a messed up person, holy shit, man, you have no fucking idea. You have no idea. These 3 and 4 letter agencies, they have archives of evidence that are beyond comprehension, are beyond the rationalization of a sane person. And um Nick he does his typical crazy thing with like the spider, stuff, and that's really cool. And it's like he's coming off of some really strong drugs, you know. I'm not exactly sure what, particular drug would make you want to contort like that, which is, well, I'm sure it was very much inspired. I did watch that interview, Nick. I know that, or it feels at least that you did put your best effort into this. And I don't like saying, or I don't like hearing from people that something or someone is appreciated. You know, it feels like that when you tell someone that you appreciate them, that they immediately turn sour. So I'm going to say something different, which is just basically the same thing. Is that I really liked it. I really like this, and again, they set it up in the end, for a possible second season, and I hear that through the grapevine that they are. And again, it wasn't something that I was looking for, right? And those are the best kinds of surprises. And the fact that I didn't want, or it's very rare these days that I can tolerate um, sitting through 7 hours of one series, right? Or 8 hours in this case, or just like to binge watch through an entire narrative, and it just you get burnt out by the end of the first or second episode, because we're just so inundated with stimulants, right? Both natural, unnatural, and genetic genetically influenced. So, and then like I see this stuff, a lot of stuff that they're that we're bending over backwards to be inclusive, and this was the opposite of that. This is a kind of Spider Noir is a niche thing, and I think it's going to have a loyal audience. The way that Spider-Man became popular from the beginning, you know, it's an interesting variation. I've seen the Into the Spider-Verse and the other one with Miles Morales and all that. And I think that's cool. I think the characters in that are genuine. They seem believable, but you have to remind yourself that again, this is a cartoon. It's almost a throwaway. It is. It's almost a throwaway, exactly like a comic book was in the 1920s or 30s. You know, and you're gonna have good memories about it, and it's gonna be in your head, in your heart, and you make references without knowing it, and then someone will notice and they'll smile slightly at you and nod. Just a quiet appreciation, or a quiet again, appreciate is to me is such a heavily loaded word, you know. Um, I think you get it. I get it. You get it. Do you get it? I hope you do. We could have an actual conversation, but this will suffice for now. Anyways, um, I got nothing else. Watch Spider Noir. I hope you like it. Um, don't try to take it for anything more than what it is. It's again, it's that painting of the pipe by Rene Magritte. I think it is, or it's Duchamp, Marcel Duchamp, in which this is not a pipe, right? It's a picture of a pipe, but it's still a pipe.